you cannot force anyone to keep something and to wear it. I'm an art collector, which has nothing to do with the product we are selling.
Das da ist Michael. Seinen Nachnamen kann ich nicht aussprechen. Dupouy. Er ist der Verleger von dem Buch All Gone, das sich seit Jahren, ich glaube seit 10 Jahren schon damit beschäftigt, alle Releases von Sneakern und Klamotten, die irgendwann ziemlich schnell ausverkauft sind, aufzulisten in einem Buch. Er ist eine französische Sneaker-Legende, hat einen Laden, heißt Club 75, oder das müsst ihr noch Französisch aussprechen. Und mit ihm habe ich mich auch getroffen, um mit ihm ein Gespräch über Sneaker und über die Sneaker-Szene in Paris zu führen. Das Ganze seht ihr jetzt hier bei uns bei Backspin TV, die ganze Reportage, da gibt es bei Steuerung F, die habe ich mit Gunnar gemacht. Dazu gibt es am Ende noch ein paar Informationen. Erstmal viel Spaß mit dem Interview mit Michael. Und seinen Nachnamen müsst ihr selber aussprechen. Und das ist übrigens Claudia, sie schneidet. Eigentlich wollte sie die Brille abnehmen, hat sie nicht gemacht. Egal, jetzt gibt es das Interview.
Can you introduce yourself a little and where we are right now?
So my name is Michael. I'm the co-founder of that little store called Club 75, and we are in Paris.
And what is your history with fashion and sneakers?
It's been like maybe more than 25 years that business was my hobby at the beginning.
Yeah.
And let's say I turned my hobby into an occupation and my occupation into a business and a future. I try to always think about what I like and transform it into something I can be happy with and making a little bit of money. It's hard for me to think about working for something that I don't like at all. So it always have been something that drives me doing stuff.
And what were the most interesting things you ever, the releases maybe or stuff like that you had in your whole business and hobby lifetime?
I would say my book. Because, you know, making a sneaker, making a t-shirt, making a fashion collection or anything related to one single product, usually that don't takes you as long and as much energy that I officially take to make one book.
Yeah.
The book, when I started 13 years ago, I'm getting old.
Yes, I have the first
one, so. The whole process of having the idea of making that book and how long it took me compared to the money you get at the end was like, okay, one was enough. And no one was really believing me that I would do it like for so long. And it's a lot of energy. You can imagine for one book how many emails I have to send going back to all around the world because I'm doing everything. Art direction, selection, making it, producing it, involving all the money, then distribution and promotion. The only thing I'm not doing is the skills in front of the computer to make the whole layout. I have someone very good for that, and the photography. But everything, I try to make it myself. The text, you know, I'm not fluent English, but I try to write, compare, edit. I have a team, fluent English. We all speak together sometimes for hours and hours for just one text. And I try to have it as perfect as I would love to be. It's not that easy, but that's my baby. So if you ask me to go back to the question, what I'm proud of is the All Gone book.
It sounds like passion, even also being
it is.
It's also like passion being a part of this hype, all this stuff happening around shirts and shoes during the last years. What do you think about this hype?
It has always been like that before. Some people always tell me that the hype is reaching a crazy level because we are now living surrounded by social media, blah, blah, blah. The only main difference is before, the group of people involved into that culture was just smaller. But trust me, when we had big releases back in the days, that smaller world always knew and always fly and always, I won't say fight, but argue for stuff that they really want. And the scene is going bigger because of our phones, but the hype is not bigger. It's just the number of people talking about it. But stuff, not only shoes, but only records or stuff like we used to like was also hype back in the days. It was just a different way to know about stuff. Waiting for a magazine to be published with a cover of one guy telling you in the interview that he was about to release something and just waiting for his post. That's just the main difference. But hype was existed before.
When we talk about hype, maybe we can also talk about a release you had last week. Can you tell us a story about the release?
A story about the release. Used to have a website a long time ago. The website was called wesoldout.com. That website was a joint venture between my small company and the most famous store in the city, the store called Colette, that you know. So Colette and I created that website, I think it was 2004, 2005, I mean, a long time ago. And to explain the relationship between us and myself, we launched a set of 3 shoes. This was all made with ASICs. The first one was a Colette shoe made for women and released with a pair of glasses to swim under the water. The second one was the one that I re-released last week, and the third one was a GT2 hosting the name of the website we created together. So it was just an addition. The Colette name, l'AMJC name, equal sold out was the name of the website. So we had 3 shoes to explain the whole story and situation back in the days.
And now you re-released your...
I released the one that had my name 10 years ago. So 10 years ago I released that shoe the day of my birthday, on December 13. This year, unfortunately, we couldn't stick to that date, and I think for the public who came here, it was a bit better to queue under the sun than queuing in a December night, probably under the rain or the snow. The shoes back in the days was made in China. This one was made in Japan. I changed a few details. I'm making a little bit more premium. I changed the box, of course. And 10 years ago, we had a bag coming with. This year, we had a tote bag, a backpack, a pair of socks. And for the few first one that came before the craziness, we had 150 t-shirts also that came with the shoe. We had a breakfast outside. We had, I can't tell you, but it was kind of intense. A lot of people came for that release. Yeah.
For the release a week ago or for the first release?
No, for the first release 10 years ago, we had quite a few people that was interesting by the pair. But last week was really crazy, really crazy.
Can you tell me some details about it? Because on this reportage, we're trying to find out why people are camp out in front of stores to get shoes and how this is going on.
You need to ask them more than me. I don't know why they camp and I don't know why they queue, but we had people starting coming here. I think I announced it on a Monday. After half an hour after my announcement, we had people starting asking them how many pairs do we have. Because I post a teaser first without mentioning that would be the shoe, so people recognize the colors and say, is it the Asics, is it the New Balance, is it blah, blah, blah. I say, you'll see next week. And they start not camping, just talking and coming, and the phone starts ringing like every hour, then every half an hour, and then every 10 minutes, and then every minute. And then when I announced officially the release, we had people starting sleeping in their car, I think 4 or 5 days before. And then you know the deal. It's like, I want to be the first, I want to be the second one. And we didn't want to manage any list, because usually when we get any hot release, we don't manage a list, so they manage themselves. And it was quite okay, just intense, just a lot of people to manage on that side, in front, here. And you know, people, how sometimes they can act when they don't have what they want. It can be sometimes a little bit tough, but it was okay.
To be honest, from your heart, how is it for you to see these people waiting for your product?
I'm super happy. There's no way you will see me complaining that, I have people queuing in front of my store for a product I personally designed. No way. I just sometimes would be even more happy if a release online or a release in the street could be going well and smooth from A to Z. And unfortunately, it's impossible. Impossible. There's always a problem, always a few problems. Yeah.
I mentioned that the first release, the shoes of the first release, reached prices up to more than 1,000 euros. What do you think about this?
The first release was only 100 pairs, 100. So I can understand 10 years after, people wanted to reach a collection of vintage Jelly 3, GT2. I mean, what they call the golden era, the pair designed by Hikmet back in the days, mine, the Pata 1. I can understand 10 years after that they can reach such a price. The problem is, I mean, it's not really a problem, is now there's not limits at all regarding the money involved into that market. So people can spend way more than $1,000 for a shoe. And there's websites that give you quotes, website giving you a certain peak of you should sell, you should keep. So that reselling mentality, I think, brainwash too many people. They don't really queue for sneaker or queue for something they're gonna wear. They queue for something with a value, and they're just collecting box with a value. That's just the main thing that changed compared to back in the days. But everything now is monetized. From an iPhone to a car to a shoe to everything has a resale value at some point or not. But there's something I can do. I can go against the masses, and I can do anything that change that. So if you ask me if I'm happy because people are spending that much on my shoe, I won't say yes, but I can't complain either. Yeah. I mean, I cannot be proud of it, but I cannot be satisfied only because people are spending that much.
The funny
thing, you cannot judge. Yeah. My only thing is you cannot judge the value and the quality of a project and a product just because of its resale value. Because there's a lot of stuff that I do like a lot, call it GR, call it inline, call it mainstream, that I love way more than collectibles. But just they are not considered as collectible, they don't have a resale value. That don't mean the product was bad or the storytelling was bad. It's just the fact that the supply and the demand didn't match at some point and make the price going higher. But there's a lot of things that I do like with supply, unfortunately, way higher than demand, but still I love and still I collect.
When you do a re-release of a sneaker, yeah, then it could also mean that the price of the original can be a little bit touched by it. What people say to you about this? You know, about the collecting.
So I know collectors that came 10 years ago and it came again here. They're true collector and they are absolutely happy to have both. And they send me DM and they say, look, that's the old one, the new one, I'm super happy, I have both, that's the little baby. I changed myself, the shoe changed a little bit, I'm super happy to have both. And I also get people complaining about, oh, you're killing your own main product. I think I didn't kill one. I make the opportunity for way more people to get the second one. And if you really look and compare, they are not the same shoe. It's just an evolution, upgrade with better, supposed to be better fabrics and different country of origin and more accessories. So if you were lucky enough to get the one, you can have this one now. If you didn't had the chance to get it 10 years ago, you have another chance to get it here.
Doing such a release also is meaning that you have a lot of people in front of this store who even reseller, they don't buy it for themselves.
No, some people, I mean, I don't know all of them. Some people, they turn the whole game into their own business. I respect the hustle. Yeah. I think it's better for them to sell this than selling drugs or doing bad things. No one will force you or another guy at the other side of the planet, at the end of the planet to buy the price they ask. So once again, it's supply and demand. If people can make a profit on it, they make a profit on Supreme, they make a profit on this shoe, they make a profit on anything they want. As soon as it's not killing anyone and not making an overdose and someone dying from it, it's not my issue anymore. And if you ask me, that's my answer. But if you ask the brand, I think they won't have any official answer, but they will say almost the same. What can you do? Yeah. You cannot force anyone to keep something and to wear it. I'm an art collector, which has nothing to do with the product we are selling. Some people are also making profit on the career of young artists. The artist cannot predict the future and he sell you a painting. Today, the painting costs $2K. Maybe 5 years after, it's like $100K. So it's not a sneaker, but it's a huge profit. That's life. You cannot predict the future. And when I released the shoe 10 years ago, I could have predicted it would be €1,000, so 10 times more 10 years after. I don't know. But I'm not proud of it.
Yeah, okay.
I make nothing for it.
But being part of this whole scene, what gives you the inspiration to be a part of it, even when you get older and the kids buying your stuff are even more younger than in the past?
So you see, when you start the interview, the two kids, they were maybe 13 and 14 years old. That makes me proud. I feel like the fact like kids coming here when I'm here and talk with me for hours, asking me about the past and asking me about something. They want to make a link between the era they are living in and the era that they are dreaming about. So sometimes me, younger, I was like, oh, the 70s looks so good. I'm a product of the 80s, and I grew up as a teenager / entrepreneur at 90s and early 2000. For them, that era is 100% something that they were dreaming about knowing, from the music to the clothing to anything. So I'm a kind of a bridge between them and my generation. There are a lot of people from my age. They don't want to queue, they are not into it anymore, and the only thing they complain is, oh, it was better in the past. But I'm thinking about the future, and I need to have people satisfied on both camps, the very young and people from my age, and if possible, even people older than me. Sometimes it's very easy, sometimes it's not easy at all. For the kids, if you don't have a style or a vibe or a way to interact with them, or people who they love that interact with you, you are nobody. You are nobody. Even if you do good products, you are nobody. So if you make them understand that you're not that old compared to them and you can have a conversation with them, and if you teach something and you have a real exchange of talk, I think usually they support a lot.
Hikmet, can you join please for one question, because for me it's very interesting. One last thing, you're both doing collaborations and some projects like this in the past. What is more important, the quality of the brands, of the collaboration, or the quality of the product itself?
No, it has to match together. You cannot imagine if the brand is supposed to be bad and you do a good product, the brand will be still bad. Yeah. You know what I mean? So,
and if the quality of the product is good and the collaboration is bad, so it has to match. It's a really joint venture. Yeah.
Also, I don't want to be that kind of guy, but I'm in a position where I can refuse stuff compared to before. Yeah. And when you are in that position, usually you try to choose people and brands that you really respect or want to work with. Because you making something, and it has to be a win-win situation at some point. If you do all the efforts from the communication to the design and everything involved, but the brand is benefiting of that effort, and you just working, but for yourself at the end of the day, that's not enough. It has to be like a win-win situation for sure.
It should be a give and get.
Yeah, yes. Otherwise, it makes no sense.
Yeah, totally agree. Okay. So, nice words. Thank you. Nice to hear. So I'm not the only one who's thinking like it.
Good. But sometimes when you make a design, if your design is good enough, it's supposed to be adapted and executed on different type of product that you don't even think about when you do the design.
Yeah, okay.
So I give you an example. For years and years and years, we did a special pattern for the book cover of all my book series. And if you remember, the book cover turned into some sneakers. We had a story with Diadora celebrating the 10 years of my book. And for the 10 years of my book, Diadora let us use different silhouettes of their history. And we adapt the book cover into shoes. So already I was satisfied that they could match together. But a few months after, we have been reached by Mercedes to adapt our design and, of course, the legacy of the book into cars, from the exterior to the interior. And we had the chance to work on physical cars, not just 3D. And the cars, if we are lucky, there's a few, you can see them, you can see people driving them, and you recognize the book cover in the street of Paris or somewhere. They have been sold in a few countries, and you see the car driving, the pattern of your book turn into a sneaker and a car. And that makes me proud. There's no resale value on the car, and I'm not a car designer at all. I don't even know how to design a sneaker, but I know to adapt colorways, style to something that can reach different type of audience and go through the future without being old. So finishing the whole story, when you re-edit a sneaker 10 years after, so a decade, with trends evolving, people changing their opinion, and you still have a queue and even longer than 10 years ago, that means your design was okay 10 years ago and it's still okay now. And if people want to buy it even more expensive for the future, that means you create something like a staple or something like a classic. And that's what makes me proud, not the resale value.
My learning after all these interviews I made on this reportage is that guys like you are even very important for this whole scene, even to give it a little more value at all. Even that's not only empowered by the brands, but it needs also its own style. So it's maybe a little difficult to talk about each other. What do you think? How important is the role of each of you for this whole sneaker world? To keep it maybe more in a balance, you know what I mean?
To be true, I never thought about what our value is for this community. We just have the big luck to make our passion to our profession.
Yes.
And the good thing on this is seems that what we do are doing right, so that we influence, I don't like the word, but that other people, like you said, that 13 or 14-year-old kids are coming and, you know, he's a legend. He never would talk about it like this, and but he done a lot. But he's not going around and saying, I done this and that. But other people saw what he did, and I think this is the main part why we are maybe important for this community. But on the other side, I think we never took time to think about these things before you asked. So this is my point of view.
And also, I'm very accessible.
Yeah.
I try to communicate. You know, when you become officially or unofficially someone, which I don't think I am, you can change the way you communicate with people. People you knew, people you just... That form of pretentious that you can get from that stuff, I don't want to. I'm still having my own lunch solo on my bench, talking to people. I'm considering myself exactly the same guy I used to be. The only thing which is much easier is my relationship with the brands. Because with my resume and my CV, I can talk to many more in a different way and in a position, or I can say no, or I can choose things that back in the days they would have said, I'm sorry, you can't. And
or we said, yes, I do it.
Yeah, you know. So that's the only change. But the rest, I'm the same guy.
I can sign it. So he never changed from his attitude.
I wear sneakers. I buy sneakers. There's a lot of people. Oh, you get this? Yeah, of course. I'm lucky enough. I get stuff. He gets stuff. You might get stuff being a journalist, but sometimes I just go to a Foot Locker, to a really random normal store, and I just buy stuff that I like. People say, "What was the last hype shoe you bought?" You're gonna make me think, and I'm lying. I was in LA, they released the Yeezy shoe. I love the new silhouette. I didn't call Adidas or anything. I just went to the store and I bought the shoe. I said, I bought, and I wear it straight away. It's just like sometimes if you think like everything has to be sent to you free, blah, 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 you turn into that character I don't want to be. I'm lucky enough, I get stuff, but if you have to buy stuff, just buy it like back in the days. You have to make also the market that we are all living in going through a normal process. Otherwise, it makes the thing really dangerous.
Last question I ask everybody is a future forecast. Do you think there's a limit for this? For
what?
For this market, for even the hypes and all that?
I've been in that scene since so many years, listening to people giving me opinion about future. There's a lot of pessimist people, sometimes older than me, sometimes almost same age. It's gonna disappear. It's a fucking bubble. China's gonna go bankrupt.
We're hearing it since 20 years. We're hearing the same stuff.
It's been always like that. If
what you do when it's
women are changing their mind. Sneakers sucks. Luxury sneakers that's going to get. Honestly, I don't know. But there will be always a niche of people collecting that type of stuff. There will be always people that grew up in the 80s, 90s, 2000, and even now with this whole thing growing slowly, and I don't see them tomorrow say, oh, I stopped and I will never buy a sneaker. Maybe one day you interview them and they complain because they miss some product and they go, it's a piece of shit, I don't want anymore. And the week after there's another release and they will queue again. So I don't want to be that guy always positive, but I think we have a future. Yeah, we do have.
A very impressive interview. Thank you very much.
So much.
Very interesting.
For my English sometimes.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Ich hoffe, ihr hattet viel Spaß mit dem Interview mit Michael, dem Gründer von All Gone. Und ich hoffe, es gab viele Informationen, die euch in eurer Sneakerwelt ein bisschen weitergeholfen haben. Deshalb gab es das Ganze jetzt bei Backspin TV. Die ganze Reportage, Claudia, nimm deine Brille ab, gibt es dann jetzt bei Steuerung F zu gucken. Claudia hat geschnitten.
Hi.
Genau. Gunnar hat es mit mir zusammen gemacht und bei Steuerung F kommt das hier bald raus. Ne, da ist es schon draußen, stimmt. Wenn wir das hier sehen, ist es schon längst draußen. Also jetzt schnell zu Steuerung F in den Kanal und guckt euch die ganze Reportage an. Und wie ich Martin kenne, hat er das hoffentlich hier irgendwo verlinkt. Also, bis bald, macht's gut, ciao.
Backspin.